Hey folks, I'm working on my last military miniatures project for quite some time. At least that's the plan that I announced a few days ago. Always reserving the right to change that plan, but I am going to get these 5 figures done and then, yes, move on to some airplanes. That's the goal anyway. So here we are with the Master Box Kit 135th scale, British Infantry, Somme, Battle Period 1916. Just fantastic box art here. And the figures are pretty darn good too. In previous installments, I showed that I'd assembled, primed, zenithal primed, then worked on the faces for these figures. Now let's take a look at where we are with the 5 figures. And where these guys are in what some folks call the ugly phase or the ugly stage. I'd prefer to say perhaps now the awkward stage. That being most of the base colors are in place. Accessories, of course, are still in their priming and zenithal prime, so that grayish white black shade, for the belts, pouches, equipment that the soldiers are carrying. But let's take a look at the figures a bit more closely. And I'll explain why this phase, or try to, is called, let me move this box out of the way, see if I can get some focus here. There we go. Why we call this the awkward phase? It's because with just now I'm not talking about the faces or skin tones now, but with just the base color down on the uniforms, the vast majority, of course they look pretty flat. A lot of the definition that I'm hoping to achieve isn't there now, because you've got to be glazing on shades, adding depth through darker shading later on. So darkness, shading, and highlights, all of that good stuff to come. And then of course there's still the inevitable and important cleanup. Now, I will say that in my view, the faces are about 90% of where I want them to be. I know I'll keep fiddling with them after I've done with all of the other detailing, until that point where at the very last step, these guys will get their helmets. But the skin tones, the eyes, the eyebrows, the cheekbones, all of that is pretty much done. And what I've spent the last painting sessions doing are painting the jackets, the trousers, the leggings, boots, and the jerkins, these leather vests that all of these guys are wearing, except the officer here is wearing his Burberry trench coat. I don't know if it's a Burberry trench coat, but I've decided it is. So we're going to let this sit, all of these guys sit. I'm going to let it sit for a while before I start applying, glazing in some lighter shades to bring out some more brightness. And it will transform especially transform the trousers and jackets, which are now in a green khaki shade. That will look very different when this is all done. The jerkins, I want to brighten up, make them a bit more of a chestnut color. And I haven't decided how or what shades or paints I'm going to use to do that. I know what I'm going to do for the trousers and jackets. So just let's take a look at what I have used. I used ochre yellow, AK there, the second paint from the left. That was for the British officer's trench coat, the base color. I used a lot of the AK German World War I red-brown, and I used that for boots and for the jerkins. And I used Middle Stone from Model Air, Vallejo Model Air, for the leggings wraps around two of the enlisted men. And then I used this Tamiya khaki, which I've mentioned before, is a very greenish shade of khaki as the base color for trousers and jackets, shirts. That will be transformed because I will be doing, I already know, like I've done on all the others, I'm going to be glazing on Vallejo khaki brown on the uniforms. Undecided how I'm going to lighten and brighten up the jerkins. I do know how I will shade and brighten, highlight and shade the trench coat, the boots, etc. Then we'll play touch up with the faces. Let's see. My iPhone is saying, at least I'm getting these concurrently in focus. This guy's got a knit cap on the top of his head. Yeah. There we go. So, I think I can soldier my way through, no pun intended, the awkward stage. That takes a lot of work, so it'll be some time before we proceed to the next part, and then I will do the belts and accessories. I got some advice once from a video that a good way to paint a miniature, or a recommended way, was to go from the inside out, which is why I generally leave these belts and everything hanging on them till the end. The canvas materialed pouches will be in a sort of a buff color. The Sam Brown belts, the holsters, there are two with holsters there. This guy, and where is he? The machine gunner. And the pistol ammunition pouch will be in a dark brown leather, but all the other strapping will be sort of a very buff color. And that's where I'm going on this. And it seems to be working out pretty well. I see I get a lot of washout depending on how I move my camera, my iPhone around. Okay. Be back later after we've given these figures a whole lot more pop and depth. That's the plan anyway. Thanks for watching.